lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Stepping away from the Yankee side of things, the Kamel GT Series packs up and crosses the pond to hit a classic British circuit. Technical and demanding, Silverstone will undoubtedly test the interclass traffic skills of all competitors today. Has anyone picked up any secrets in any of the warm-up races leading to today? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, F1 fans are probably well familiar with this place, but for anyone who hasn't watched a race around here, why don't you tell us about the track?
Well, Joe, first I'll tell you it's located in England, of course, next to the Northamptonshire villages of Silverstone and Whittlebury. They built this on the site of an old World War II Royal Air Force bomber station. It's been the current home of the British Grand Prix, which it first hosted in 1948. And the old historic version is one of 5 available configurations offered by iRacing. But a redesign in 1990 created the modern Grand Prix layout tapped for this race. Now they get the best idea of what it's like to get around the 17 turns in 5.1 kilometers, yes, 3.2 miles raced, is to go around this track on board with the GSRC Kamel GT.
All right, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Silverstone. Coming down to Cops, you might see some pass attempts into here, but it'll take a really good run off the previous corner to set it up. This turn is deceptive in that you can get back to the power sooner than you would expect. From out of there, bring it across the track, making sure to be wary of any cars exiting pit lane. Then line it up and throw out the anchors as you turn into the Beckett sequence. The best way to take these S's is to give yourself the straightest shot possible out of the final right-hander. The sooner you get on the gas, the more top speed you'll achieve down the hanger straight. And that's going to be very important since the braking in a stow is likely to be one of the most popular passing spots. Expect a bit of a draft to come into effect as you fly through here, and drivers will probably be picking their lines early if they notice someone gaining. But even if you defend from the inside, occasionally drivers will hold around the outside of stow. That's because it gives themselves the inside line into Vale. Even though it's a short run into the chicane, it takes heavy braking to woe it up into this corner, and so passes will take place from time to time. Once you come into club, you'll see drivers let it drift wide a bit so that they can square off the second apex. This is another spot where it'll be critical to get yourself a nice run, either for defense or attack. Once again, bring it across the track and then throw out the anchors for Abbey. The first half of the chicane is relatively tight, but the second half opens up a lot. I found the car likes to get a little bit loose if you keep your foot to the floor out of there. Then you'll need a stab of the brakes in a bridge where you might see a variety of lines taken. The switchback makes it a compromise in a priory, and some drivers prefer to swing it wide while others come in shallow. Give it another blip before you hit the binders yet again for Brooklands. This is another one of the slowest corners of the track and leads directly into Luffield. The hairpin requires a lot of patience while you wait to put the power down. And there's a lap around the Silverstone circuit, the Grand Prix version of this circuit. Apologies if we had any technical difficulties in there. Let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship, starting with the prototypes up at the top. Keith Ritchie leading the way, as he has been in most of the recent seasons. Olenek continues to drop back a little bit. His 143 points that he's got to gain on Keith Ritchie, so he's really got to start making inroads now in the season. A little bit farther back from him is Mukanos, at about 195 points back from Ritchie. And then Jamie Hall moves up a spot, bumping Tapani Lenaluoto down. Lenaluoto not having the best of season, of course, has missed a few races as well, and he winds up in 5th. Now going over to the Prototype Team Championship, the Silk Cut Jaguar team currently leads the way, but very, very close up at the top. In fact, they just moved up into that first place after last week, only 6 points separating themselves from Team Toyota. So we expect that the fight will continue today between those two. Sauber, of course, well back. Leonard Luoto getting quite a few points for them, but Lanini not nearly as much. He's going to have to try and hold up his weight a little bit better between them. Nissan sitting back in the 4th position, and of course Repsol Brun in 5th. Sean, what are the GTO fields looking like?
Well, it's looking like Brian Strodbeck has moved up the ladder and now finds himself sitting atop the points there, Joe. 42 points to the good over Philip in and around the lake there in 2nd. Phil up a spot himself. It's Ove Trengerade moving down 2 spots. He's been knocked off of his pedestal. The Skull Bandit Racing driver now sits in 3rd, up 3. And this is what's got to have the rest of the field in danger here. Joni Hagner coming up 3 spots. He's now in 4th, 120 points behind Brian Strodbeck. And then Brian Shanahan. It's a tale of the 2 Brians. This Brian down there in 5th, Joe. Now let's take a look at the team championship here in the GT Series. And, well, that's going to be the Skull Bandit team of Shanahan and Ove Trengerade just behind them and 55 points back 2nd there. You have Cunningham Racing, Philip Lake, and Baki there. And Strodbeck's team with Quinn Roush Racing in 3rd, 84 points out. So Strodbeck is going to have to pull his weight here and pull down another win, try and get back into this team battle.
Well, qualifying is taking place right now, and you can see as we look at the leaderboard for the GTOs, Hagner has the fastest time. However, what interests me is the prototypes. Ossian Puhaka has put himself on the pole so far. Now we have a number of top players that are waiting to get their lap in, including Lepisto and Keith Ritchie, either likely to be able to topple him. We watch Michael Houghton currently in 2nd.
Yeah, Antti Lepisto just getting out on track too, so there's another one we'll have to watch out for.
Do have about 3.5 minutes left on the clock, so they should both be able to get their full laps in. Jamie Hall gets himself on the front row, and now Keith Ritchie takes the pole away. Mukanos follows him.
Yeah, Puhaka was sitting at a 133.2. Ritchie goes and runs a 132.6 there, Joe.
Mukanos is only about a 10th up from Puhaka, but about half a second behind Ritchie right now. Keith has the pace by some margin. This bumps Jamie Hall down to 5th, of course, on the timing sheets.
Antti Lepisto gets a big first lap, Joe. He goes to 2nd on the board with a 133.1.
And yet still that half a second away from Ritchie. Boy, the fight for 2nd, though, is going to be a tight one. There's only 2/10 between 2nd place and it looks like down to 6th place, where Ardo Ihimaki is on a 133.392. Can't forget, of course, the GTO fields. Hagner still has the pole over Strodbeck. Both of them not out on track right now. Trangerade is out there to see if he can improve his time, coming through on his 2nd lap.
Yeah, Strodbeck just completed his 2nd lap there, Joe, and it just wasn't good enough there to get himself ahead of Hagner. Ove Trengerade out there right now, going on his 2nd lap.
And we think he's on an out lap, so he must have made a mistake and has come back out to try and put one in, because his time was awful high for being through the Maggots-Beckett sequence. There's Alex Basio, who is currently sitting 2nd to last of the cars that have put a time in. And the Audis, Gilles Rioul, of course, completes his qualifying. See if things have changed up at the top of the Nissans. I'm seeing every Nissan out on track has actually completed their 2 laps. So I think those guys are solidified as they will be. In fact, yes, only driver that hasn't put in a 2nd lap, Jamie Hall, is not out on track. So that is over for the Nissans. And indeed, Trangerade still completing his last lap. Everybody in from the Audis as well. Ralph Mathesius is on his 2nd lap already, or has finished his 2nd lap already, so he can't go any higher on the qualifying sheets. With that, why don't we go through the grid, starting with our Nissans. Keith Ritchie sitting on the pole. However, Lepisto has improved his time and is now down to 2/10 between Ritchie and the Finn. So on the outside of that front row, the number 1 of Anti going to complete that. Then in third, it'll be Nicholas Mukanos starting in third. Ossian Puhaka in fourth. Behind them in row 3, Jamie Hall will start in the 5th position. P6 goes to Ardo Ihimaki with Michael Houghton starting in 7th. Rob Olenek, once again, just seems to be lacking qualifying pace in the last couple rounds. However, he's tended to come well in the race once the race pace kicks up. He starts 8th. John Malia will be in 9th with Jesus Pasillas starting in the top 10. Clayton McLeod will be in 11th today with John Hill starting in 12th. Martin Krejcirek in 13th and John Keefe in 14th. Last 2 on the Nissans is Timo Toika in 15th and Jason Wallet starting in 16th.
All right, Joe, and here is your GTO field. The Audis, Joni Hogner going to start on the pole. Brian Strodbeck right next to him there. Those two will battle to start this race. Ove Trengrade in 3rd. Philip Blake 4th. Row 3, Ben Laughter. Billy Ruola there in 6th. Miroslav Jurasek there in row 4 in 7th. Hideki Koivitso back for more today in 8th. And then we've got Brian Shanahan in row 5 there just alongside of him. Bronislav Robanek down to row 6 is going to be Alex. We're going to go with Bichu, I think, on that, Joe. And Ralph Mathesius there in 12th. And in 13th today, Jill Riel. And 14th, Cesar Terron. In this 15-car field for the Audi GTO's Thomas Morriman. Going to start at the back there.
Roof pace car waiting for everybody to grid up, and then we will get going for 45 minutes here in round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series, and you're watching it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Now, I'm surprised actually that they didn't race the classic course, the historic course for this group, but I know that this community tends to like good passing opportunities, which to me explains why they have the chicanes in this one, Sean.
Yes, Joe. You know what? It's this track is it's a lot of work. Your forearms are going to work out today. It's high speed and then it's low speed and even some fast long sweepers. But this configuration, honestly, probably my favorite of the various ones available.
Looks like the roof pace car is now taken off, heading up into Cops. Now, as far as interclass traffic goes, the obvious spot for me, of course, would be the Hangar Straight. Is there anywhere else that's just long enough that you can try and sneak by easily the Audis if you're in the Nissan, or is traffic going to be a serious issue?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a serious issue today. Honestly, you get maybe a small chance out of Club, just a small chance. You've got to be right up on your opponent. The next best opportunity, though, is going to be right there at a Woodcote, across the start finish line, and that short trip down to Cops. It's not a very long one, but again, if you're close to somebody, you can get by them and clear them quickly. But again, you've got to be close enough to be able to clear them quickly.
Now, speaking of Woodcote, in the past we've had some of the Audi field try to let the Nissan field know what corners are marginal for them, and I found in my practice running up to this, in the Audi Woodcote, you are flat out, but you really need to stretch it and give the widest line possible. Has there been any chatter from the Audi drivers letting the Nissan drivers know that that's difficult for them, or has nobody forewarned the prototypes about that?
I haven't seen anything. I didn't hear him talking about it in practice. Everybody was kind of minding their... Actually, practice was eerily quiet, Joe. Not a lot of chatter going on. Everybody keeping it kind of close to the vest here.
Wonder if a quiet warm-up means we'll get a very chatty race if drivers get a little hot under the collar. There has been a lot of talk between the races, of course, about the interclass traffic and having to deal with that. This is such a unique series with the time difference, the lap time difference between these two fields. I would say, as far as multi-class series go, Sean, this probably has the widest gap between the two of them.
Boy, it really does. But, you know, the racing always seems to be pretty competitive, Joe, regardless of that. Listen, the 3 and the 4 are sitting up here at the top of the Audi GTO class. That should tell you something about the type of drivers we have in the Audis and the Nissans. and you would expect that they get along through traffic well. Let's just say it's always tight racing, and it doesn't always work out like you think it would, but overall, I think you've got to be pretty happy with the way this group has worked together over the course of the season and last season.
They have built a very tight-knit community that loves these cars, tries to be evangelists for this series at any place possible throughout the forums. And I've really enjoyed, honestly, getting to cover these races. So I'd love to see them get just a little bit more participation to try and help build the health of this series. But as the roof pace car comes up to Luffield, the silk-cut Jaguar of Keith Ritchie is going to get the green, and he will lead the field away. The GTPs will be screaming down into cops in just moments. As the roof heads into pit lane, Ritchie waits. He accelerates, the green flag waves. He gets a fantastic jump over Lepisto. He was left out to dry as Mukanos took a little bit of a look to the inside, but he comes back to the line. Buhaka takes a peek. Wow, down to the inside. Lepisto going way wide. He's going to come back to the track, going across the dirt. He's going to have the inside in the first corner, but it's going to switch back as they come into the Mackets-Beckett sequence.
Joe Hogner got off to a good break, spun the tires, and still gets off to a good break. Strodbeck chasing, already falling just about 5/10 behind. He's being chased by Trengrade. Trengrade gets a good start. Nicholas Bukanos out there struggling. I just heard him come on the radio.
But as that's happening, a hard battle for third up, and the prototypes of Mukanos spins. That causes the car behind him to lose it. That is Buhaka, who gets into the side of him, turns him around, and that shuffles him all the way down. He's got so much damage that he spun it once again on a straight. Going into club, it got intense. Just look at Lepisto dive out. He was overtaken by Mukanos. Mukanos lost it. Oh my goodness. Let's watch on board Puhaka. Ossian, I kind of don't blame him on this one. Just the car spun in front of him. He had to do everything he can to try and avoid it. Nowhere to go, as we see on board.
Well, Ossian back on track live. Just got past our GTO leader. Strodbeck, though, making a move inside Hogner.
Can't do anything with it.
Yeah, he couldn't.
As they come down through Priory and towards Brooklands, Hagner's going to get a little bit of relief, but look at the train of cars behind them. Everybody nice and tight up in this top group. Is the draft going to play a big part in these Audis?
Joe, it'll play a little bit of a factor, but you've got to be close. You've got to be within about that 5/10 of a second range for it to really factor in.
Let's hold on this fight as things have really stretched out between the top prototype cars. So really, the fight is down here as Ove Tranqueray gets a little too far out on cops. That's going to give up third spot to Philip Lake.
Yeah, Philip Lake taking advantage of that for sure.
Despite having the four-wheel drive, the Skull Bandit Audi of Ove Tranqueray could not hold on out in the grass and the AstroTurf, and already he's got Ben Laughter closing up on the rear spoiler. As they come down the hangar straight, he's just a little bit too far back to make an attack up into club. Into Stowe. Oh, but ahead of them, Strodbeck took a look at Hagner. That fight very much still on, Sean.
Yes, it is. Joe, and I think Quivizzo in the pits.
Must have had a problem somewhere along the line. I'm checking real quick to see if I can find what happened to him.
Apparently it was on the first lap, Joe.
Yeah, I see him go off in Abbey. Oh, and Strodbeck with a problem, and coming up is Philip Lake looking around the outside of Priory as Bridge switches back into this slow left-hander. But look at Lake, power around the outside, finds the grip somehow and keeps it door to door coming through Brooklands. It's finally going to swing in his favor as they come up to Luffield, but now he's dropped behind Strodbeck ever so slightly, keeps him under pressure and can't get the power off the corner. This is going to bring Trangarate back into things now.
Well, all this has done is allowed Hagner to get now out over a 2-second lead. Strodbeck is definitely going to have to get back to work here.
It's exactly what Hagner needed in this race early on, giving him just a little bit of comfort. But boy, the fight for third not over, because Philip Lake, because of that attack, has Trangerade and Laughter very close behind him through the Maggots-Beckett sequence. They start to lose time, though.
Joe, up in the Nissan field, the GTPs, a battle for 6 going on. Jesus Pasillas trying to hold off Rob Olenek. Ooh, Jesus makes a bit of a mistake there.
No second invitation needed for Olenek as he slips to the inside of Brooklyn. Both of them went way wide down in there trying to go deep. Doesn't matter because you can give P6 to Olenek, and in fact, Houghton managed to get past Jesus.
Yeah, it's our buddy Clayton McLeod now with the next opportunity. He's not too far back, only about 7/10. He's closing.
Running for that Nissan team. Taking advantage of the battling that went on in front of him. Pasillas has really dropped off. And in the meantime, we missed Philip Lake did manage to get past Brian Strodbeck somewhere. And once again, it was through Bridge as this battle continues on. Strodbeck struggling in that fast right-hander after the Abbey chicane. He can't come back at Philip. He's going to have to settle for third at least this lap. Let's take a look at that replay, Sean.
Yeah, here it comes, Joe, at you. Philip getting a good run here at Bridge. Strodbeck kind of moved over, let him take the inside there. I think maybe Strodbeck planned to try and cross him over, but it didn't work out for him. And they battled side by side. But again, Philip Lake, the winner there, based on getting the position to the inside there. Strodbeck was just not able to pull that crossover.
Certainly wasn't. Well, he's got a great run coming down the hanger straight, though. He looks to the inside, down in a stow. He gets chopped off at the nose, though. Philip Lake is not having anything of this, even though they're letting Hagner get away to a 3-second gap. It seems all Philip Lake is concerned about is keeping this P2.
Wow, what a battle. 5 cars here, just really going at it.
Audi's proving to be the class with the action today, but up at the front, not a whole lot of action for the Silk Cut Jaguar of Keith Ritchie. He's stretched out over Lepisto by about 2 seconds. Just relatively calm up there at the moment. Fans of Ossian Puhaka, he has got himself into 14th. He's managed to get past Wallet and Krejcik. Mukanos is just up the road, so those two might not be done with their quarrel yet. Man, I just can't look away from this fight and the Audis for second place.
Yeah, it's kind of where my eyes are trained right now. Now, I will tell you that Phil got a much better run off of Woodcote that time, and Brian loses a little bit of ground.
Trangrade's still back there as well, hounding these two, waiting in the popcorn position. Behind them, the 2 cars that you may have gotten a glance of are Laughter and Rolla.
Philip Blake showed up to race today. He's up 2 spots, man. I mean, this is serious stuff for him today.
Yeah, the woodworker is not messing around. He likes to say that he races better than he practices. I think that's the case right now. Like you said, just bringing his A game, even though Strodbeck seems to close heading down the straight. It's just not enough.
Battle back here for 8th, Cesar Terron. He's up 5 spots, Joe. He's trying to get by Jurasek right now.
Oh, coming around
the outside.
Oh, that's not going to work unless he can hold around to the inside of Club. And look at that, proving me wrong. Cesar Terron, he gets a punch in the back from Juracek. And that's going to put Miroslav solidly back into that 9th spot. Meanwhile, in 11th, sounds like we got a little bit of a fight going on. Actually, I think this is for 12th behind them. It's Mukanos and Puhaka trying to get by John Hill.
Yeah, and Puhaka really putting the pressure there on Mukanos. Hill now caught up to Keefe. It's really kind of a 4-car battle going there.
Yeah, I was going to say, things might get a little bit tangled here as we've got 4 cars, and I almost want to say you got the fastest in the back with the slowest in the front. Just a reverse order as they come up to the Audis now, and things are going to get even more complicated. That's Gilles Roule and Ralph Mathesius. They all get out of the way, and unfortunately for Mukanos, that's not going to be an opportunity to try to get by Hill.
Yeah, Puhaka just stuck at the end of this train here. Really nothing he can do.
No, Keefe went way wide coming out of Luffield. Here goes John Hill, streaming past down the front stretch, down into Copse, and he looks like he's going to have it easily. Wow! Ooh. Late move from Mukanos, and Puhaka gets into him. Keefe gets shunted off to the side. He manages to keep going.
Wow, we'll go on board with Puhaka here, but Keefe already kind of struggling by getting passed by the cars that had moved in front of him. You see Puhaka shoot it in there and makes that little bit of contact with Keefe, and as you say, got kind of pushed off to the side.
Yeah, it almost looked like Puhaka didn't expect a pass to happen there. It just kind of, the door opened, and the next thing he knew, his speed was taking him through.
Now Puhaka fighting back here, trying to get ahead of John Hill.
I don't think Hill's putting up too much of a fight. He lets him have the inside, which is going to switch back to his favor here around Club. But can he get the power down? The turbo wanting to wind up and really give you the grunt when you don't want it. And unfortunately for him, Puhaka is able to take it around the outside to get himself into 12th. But that time battling has allowed Nicholas Mukanos to put about a second between them. And as all this is happening, we've got our leaders working their way through Audi traffic.
Yeah, Keith Ritchie making his way through the field. Didn't take long, Joe. We're, 7 minutes into this race? Almost a full 7 minutes into the race. No, a little bit more than that, sorry. But he's still now getting past, that's that Shanahan there he's going by right now.
I think that was Ben Lafter.
Ben Lafter, I'm sorry, yeah, Ben Lafter.
Trangarade is up next, and then we've got the battle for second ahead of him. Wonder if that's going to throw a wrench in things, which is actually starting to take off because Strodbeck is taking a look on Philip Blake down into Stowe. Can he finally get P2 back? Around the outside, hangs on Philip Blake. He knows this is going to switch back in his favor as they come up to Vale. Here comes Keith Ritchie trying to get into the mix of things. Strodbeck now finally finishes the overtake.
Horrible place for Ritchie to catch him. Looks, oh boy.
Oh, he's going to run a room. Whoa! And Strodbeck trying to hold on to it. Weaves back and forth. The car losing control down the straight. Keep it out of the barriers, Brian. And he just gets it back as they hit the chicane. But look at all the positions that are just streaming by.
Man.
I wondered about Ritchie deciding to go around the outside of there. That gap was only ever going to disappear.
You know, we talked about that earlier, Joe. the Audi needs space to run out there. Strodbeck just hanging on to this thing, just along for the ride, basically. What a great job by Strodbeck of keeping that thing out of the barrier and getting her back up on track. Drops all the way to 6th.
Well, Strodbeck turns the GTO into the Quattro Rally version. He's got some work to do. As you said, down in that 6th spot, Villaruola is the first one up. After what looked like a contention for the win, it has really changed. But Pasilius, behind them, coming out of Copse, spins it across the track. Sean, it looks like that AstroTurf on the outside just does not offer a whole lot of grip if cars go off there.
No, it really doesn't. There's just a little bit. You can't get too far over it in there like Pasilius did. And he's lucky that didn't collect a bunch of cars. Does a good job of recovering from it. He's back under power and avoids hitting anything.
And Mercedes Sauber unfortunately goes down to 14th position with all of that. In fact, he's caught up to the back of Keefe and Hill, who are in quite a fight for 12th, just ahead of him. Those two have found each other a lot this season. We mentioned Olenek didn't qualify very well. Well, just like my prediction, he made his way forward in the race. He's all the way up to 5th from qualifying in 8th, and already he's been hounding John Malia.
Brian Strodbeck picks up another position. He gets ahead of Villarreola. Use the traffic coming through, the Nissan traffic coming through as kind of a pick there. He's able to do it. Now he's got this battle behind him, though, that we were watching a moment ago between Hill and Keefe. Coming through.
They're going to catch them in a little bit of an awkward spot here. Oh, look at him try to sneak onto the inside of Rolla at Woodcote, and that costs him a ton of time. Here comes Keefe to the inside of Hill as they go 3 wide down into Copse, and everybody makes it safely through, except for Keefe, who loses it around the outside, tries to straighten the car out, and Strodbeck just whooshes by in time.
Yeah, this race hasn't been exciting for Brian at all.
Let's watch on board Strodbeck. Oh, as he gets shoved out from Keefe as we go away from it. I'm sorry, I know we didn't see that, but my goodness. The Buckeye is, he might have a few words for people after this one is over.
Well, he's certainly not making it easy on the poor guy. Look at him here on the replay, and Keefe going to come right back up in front of him. Wow.
We'll stay on this to watch what happened here, because Keefe, obviously being the faster car, gains on him quickly, and Strodbeck just did not expect him. You can see, whoop. So he has to take evasive action.
And this race has been tough enough.
I did not expect a race at Silverstone to be this tough. Although we've only had one retirement. Thomas Marmon is he actually might have been a DNS. I did not see him out on track. Everybody else still running. Up at the top of our fields, Richie leading by 4 seconds over Lepisto. Hasn't been much of a fight up there. Same thing for Hagner. Because of the fighting back and forth between Lake and what was Strodbeck before, it's about a 9.5 second lead between Hagner and Lake. The Finn pretty much just running his own little race in his usual number 3. That Toyota-themed Audi just has the track all to himself.
Strodbeck is starting to reel in Ben Laughter. Oh, another battle just behind them. Tyrone trying to get around Shanahan. They are door handle to door handle. Oh, boy. Shanahan does not want to give it up. He almost puts the bumper to Tyrone.
Yeah, you do not want to go side by side here into the Maggots Beckett sequence. Shanahan thought a little bit better of that defense. He's going to get another go at him down the hanger straight, but he's a little bit too far back to take advantage. So keep Tyrone in that 7th spot.
Tyrone has picked up the most positions here in the GTO class, Joe. That's 7 spots now for him, up to 7th. So Tyrone having a pretty good day here on track.
How about a battle of the Finns? Toika in 9th, trying to take away 8th from Arno Ihamaki. This is in the prototypes as they come to complete another lap. We're almost halfway through the race now. Toika was starting to threaten. He was good through the technical parts, but he's dropped off now that they've hit a faster portion of the circuit. Oh, does Puhaka have some more problems? Oh, he is in the barriers and Copse.
Wow. Yeah, Joe. I'm trying to rewind that now, but I guess we're gonna catch it on the replay here. Boy, it looked like he might have got too much curb there and a little bit of grass on the right-hand side.
That was exactly what my call was going to be. We've heard the drivers say before that these cars do not like the curbs, and he didn't just chomp down on the curb. He had a whole meal.
Yeah. He's definitely full now, and that car full of damage, unfortunately. Puhaka goes back to fighting. He'll have to do it from 11th place. He finds himself almost 10 seconds behind Nick Bucanos.
Now, amazingly, he didn't lose a position from that. They had stretched away from Pastorius by that much. But as you said, he was chasing Mukanos, trying to get that position away, and now he's going to have to work extra hard to try and get it back. Mukanos is more worried about traffic as he goes by more of the Audis and the cars ahead, which is Toyka, and that fight we were looking at briefly ago.
Yeah, and Ardo Himaki, Toyka's teammate there right in front of him. So you don't have to just get around one. You've got to figure out a way to get around this team. Team of Finns. That's a daunting task there, Joe.
And I think actually Iamaki is teammates with Clayton McLeod. I'm seeing both of them running on the Nissans. McLeod just shortly ahead of him.
You're right, Joe. My bad. I was going in the wrong direction there again.
Well, I thought
It's
maybe
the second time I've done that today.
I thought maybe you meant their teammates on Team Finland, which is true too.
Well, yes.
All right, battle for fifth starting to heat up, and that is Olenek and Houghton. They're not too far behind John Malia. Remember, Olenek was trying to close up and pass Malia earlier. Well, now his view is in his mirrors as Houghton starts to hassle him, starts to put the pressure on.
You know, I really think Malia could mount a charge here on Jamie Hall. He seems to be consistently faster than Hall right now. Still plenty of time to get that done. We've just gone under 25 minutes.
They work their way through Bridge and down into Priory. All of them looking about even with one another for now. If there's a difference in pace, it is very slight. Having to wait patiently around the long hairpin of Luffield and then getting the power down on these beastly machines, trying to avoid the turbo lag, usually wanting to send them looping around. And so far, still only one retirement here in race 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. If you're just joining us on the Global Sim Racing channel, we're watching this battle for 5th, what could be for 4th, depending on if they can try and get up on top of John Malia, but he gets a much better exit out of Chapel. And Olenek once again worrying more about what's behind than what's ahead as Houghton closes the gap down the Hangar Straight. These drivers seemingly in a bit of a stalemate, closing, under braking down to Vale for Michael Houghton. Car looking strong. Everybody swinging out wide in the middle of Club, trying to get the power down and taking it right out to where that grass starts once again.
Joe, back here, Brian in the GTO class, Brian Stradbeck starting to pick up Ove Trengarade. This gets him back to a podium spot if he can get past Trengarade. All the trouble he's incurred, this run could still turn out pretty good. Philip Blake not that far ahead either. Not an eternity there to get him.
Yeah, the fast firefighter has to wonder what could have been with the pace that he had in this race earlier on. Mistakes, traffic, all various sorts of things just causing him headaches. With us having now passed halfway, let's run you down the top 5 of each of our classes and what's been going on with them. Richie, really a whole lot of nothing other than just dealing with traffic. He's been holding the gap over Lepisto at roughly 3 seconds. Doesn't seem to be pushing the car, just kind of running his pace. Lepisto has been getting chased but has not been able to make inroads on the West Club driver. Meanwhile, behind him, you've got Jamie Hall, another 4 seconds back from Lepisto. Also, hasn't had a whole lot of other cars to race with most of the time. Mostly focused on doing what he's doing now, which is dealing with the traffic. Then you go to 4th. That's when you start to get into battles happening. Malia has really put his foot down, seeing that Olenek and Houghton have caught him. He has upped his pace and has stretched away from Olenek, who sits in 5th. What's the top 5 GTOs looking like, Sean?
Well, it's Joni Hagner right now running away, Joe, and boy, it all started with the start of this race. He got off to a good jump and hasn't really looked back at this point. Philip Blake, though, with a good, solid run, getting up there to second, picks up a couple of spots, and Phil having a really good showing here today at Silverstone. Ove Trengerade hanging on to that third spot, but man, I'll tell you what, it could be up for contention here real soon. Brian Strodbeck is hot on his tail. Strodbeck recovers now to a 4th place, looking for more here. And then we'll go back to 5th, and that's been Ben Laughter, who has had a solid drive so far, but he's being chased real closely there by Villarreola.
There's your top 5 in each of our classes. In the time that we were paying attention to that, Mukanos finally got past Timu Toika. Such is the difficulty that these Nissans are experiencing in the wake of the car ahead. Mukanos with the pace advantage, but was stuck behind him for a significant amount of time. He's now trying to chase down Ihimaki, who has caught his own teammate, Clayton McLeod. They come up to Stowe now and accordion together under braking. They're going to go past Trangarade, who gives them the inside down into Vale, but unfortunately, this checks up everyone behind them.
Richie had a little bit of a moment getting around Philip Blake, but he's good. Still under power, being chased by Anti Lepisto. Lepisto now trying to get around Philip Blake. Just behind them, this really opened things up for Strodbeck, who has now really gotten up there on Philip Blake. Or I'm sorry, on Trengarade.
They've
Jamie
got
Hall coming around there.
Yeah, GTP traffic wanting to get by. They're going to leave them alone now for a while. Strodbeck closing in under the braking for Cops. Off the corner, trying to get that 4-wheel drive power down. And look at the defensive move from Trangarade, just holding the middle of the track. Obviously feeling a little bit under threat.
You got more traffic coming through right here, too. Gotta be careful.
Malia caught them in an absolute horrible place, but it's just as equally bad for Olenek, who is now going to be overtaken. Here comes Houghton, who makes it 3 wide, gets to the inside as they come up to Stowe. And a beautiful, opportunistic bit of racing from Michael Houghton, who had been waiting behind Olenek for a number of laps.
Boy, this...
Ooh! I was going to say, if they're going to go 3 wide through Vale, I do not see that going well. Thankfully, Olenek backs out of it and keeps from plowing into Philip Lake. Oh, he almost gets into the back of Houghton there. Things are tense here for the top 5 in the Nissans.
They really are. And, you know, just behind them, though, this GTO battle's still really, really good between Trengarade and Strodbeck. Strodbeck was trying to use the traffic as a pick. Almost pulled off a move on Trengarade, but Trengarade just having a really good drive. Playing great defense here now.
The blue Nissan that we see is Jason Wallet, who's trying to get past. He goes a little bit wide. Now he's finally going to get an opportunity as they come down to Cops. You can see, however, the gap is... That was McLeod sticking his nose in, who is lapping Wallet as well as the Audis. Boy, this Maggots-Beckett sequence seems hair-raising every time I see interclass traffic attempt to navigate there.
Well, it definitely killed Strodbeck's momentum as he's going to lose a lot of ground to Ove Trengarade because of that.
Strodbeck still sitting down in 4th. His pace makes you think that a podium should have been doable by now, but he cannot catch a break today. Meanwhile, sorry to cut you off, but Michael Houghton, I thought that maybe he was only going to be fighting with Olenek the rest of this race, but no, he was being held up by Olenek. Look at how he's run down John Malia and is already trying to see if he can pry that 4th place away.
He's trying. He's definitely digging at it. Malia playing some pretty good defense himself right now. Malia, a big mover through the field, up 5 spots. He started in 9th today.
He took a win in his first tryout as he goes around the outside. They split our leader, Joni Hagner.
Wow.
And that slows him down as Michael Houghton once again uses the Audi traffic to beautiful extent. Let's see a replay on, I think we're going to go on board Hagner, I'm guessing. I know Houghton, it looks like. Wow.
Joni Hagner just thinking to himself, yeah, guys, I'm just trying to win a race here.
I have to give credit to Houghton. This has been a masterclass in reading the situation from him today. The drivers always talk about every situation is different, even though there's some general rules that you try and follow in multi-class. You always just have to kind of take it as it comes, and that's what Michael Houghton has been doing. He's almost like an improvisational actor here, just doing everything he can with whatever he's handed.
That's a great comparison. You're right. He's improv-ing it, Joe.
If I was in the crowd, I would be loving it for sure, as he's gotten himself up to 4th, having qualified in 7th.
We missed it. We missed it. Oh, Strodbeck gets around Tranquerade. It was back a bit ago. I don't know if we're going to be able to catch it, but Strodbeck able to finally pull that off.
Yeah, that was actually about half a lap, almost a full lap ago. So that gets Strodbeck finally onto the podium. Nove Trangrade looks like he might not get a second podium for today, having taken, I believe it was 2nd place in the 49s at Oulton Park today.
It was, yes, a very, very tough track.
This one proving just as tough, surprisingly. So we see John Hill work his way through. He's trying to get away. Whoa! Trangrade's off into the barriers. Oh, no. And that was kicked off, I think, by a little bit of miscommunication.
That was John Keefe running up on him there, and Keefe's actually going to clip the rear end. That's what sends him around and into the wall.
And just to the side of the screen, we could see actually Strodbeck was off in the grass as well as he went wide through Woodcote to let Hill through. But unfortunate for him, he didn't suffer the same fate that Trangrade did. Now, for Trangrade, he did have to take a tow. Looks like that damage was enough on his suspension that he could not bring it around the track.
Boy, that's a shame. Obe was having a really, really good run, man. He fought Strodbeck so hard there.
Speaking of fighting hard, Ihamaki and McLeod still close together with Mukanos, having not yet managed to get by them. Mukanos started this race in 3rd. He's only worked his way back up to 9th after a first lap incident into Stowe. 12 minutes to go, and it's looking unlikely he'll be able to get back up to at least where he started.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good call at this point. I mean, we're just now hitting that 12-minute mark. Boy, this one has just flown by, though, Joe, hasn't it?
Certainly have had a lot to call. Whoa, and a mistake from McLeod. He's into the tires.
Oh, boy. Yeah, he is. Big mistake there by McLeod. We've got a replay of it. He just gets too far left, Joe. He's just going to miss it here on the entry of the turn.
I wonder if that was the curb once again.
I'm sorry, the exit.
Yeah, coming through Maggots, the right-hander, it just seemed like it took a little bit of curb, and I wonder if it unsettled the car. And that's what sent him wide there.
You know what, Joe? I think you're right. I just went back and looked at it again. I do think the curb upset that car. He caught just enough of it. We know that this machine, the Nissan, does not like those curbs at all. And I think that's what sent him offline there.
That's the 2nd time this race we've seen a top runner, unfortunately, fall victim to these curbs, which are relatively flat, we should say. That's just how much these Nissans do not like being upset.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I see a bit of a battle between Rolla and Laughter for 4th place.
Yeah, Ruolo's put in some hard work here to get to Laughter, and I think that hard work's about to pay off. We'll see. We'll see how well Laughter can defend this here over the closing laps of this race. Ooh, I don't know. It may not be many. Seems like he struggled there a little bit, and Ruolo tried to take advantage of it.
I was going to say he caught him at the absolute worst time, though. In the middle of the corner, and his momentum was interrupted. Villa is going to have to stay behind in 5th as they work their way through the Abbey chicane, getting the power down, and now heading under bridge. And while that was happening, we might want to step away to Mukanos, and Mukanos is off, and he's into the wall. That started with a battle side by side. Mukanos got a fantastic run on Ihamaki. You're going to see him get to the inside on Stowe and then just get tipped ever so slightly.
They do make the contact there, Joe, just a little bit of it, and it unsettles Mukanos' car. Gets him off of that grass, he comes across.
Oh, and then Malia had some problems. Let's see what happened here. This was elsewhere on track. Oh, did he make contact with Tyrone there? Or it might not have been Tyrone, excuse me. It looked like his car. Let's watch on board. Oh, hard to tell from that angle. Either way, John Malia is now in 6th, and that allows Olenek to take 5th. Might have been Jurashek. That's who I was looking at. There he is, right there. Malia now successfully navigates his way past.
Ruolo just gets past Ben Laughter there just a moment ago, Joe. That's Ruolo up to 4th.
Ruolo did a great job out breaking him around the outside of Stowe and then had to compete with him for the position all the way until they exited club. Actually, let's give that pass a little bit of love on the replay. So, gonna back it up just a little bit more as the number 16 of Ruolo. You can see, look at that, just miles ahead on the brakes. And then you can see Laughter tries to come back at him down into Vale. Almost gets into him. Actually might have made slight contact from that angle, it looks like. Now finally he finishes it.
There might be a little competitive paint there in those vehicles. You know what the competitive paint is, don't you, Joe?
I have a feeling it has something to do with rubbing his racing.
Maybe just a little bit. You know what? Up front, though, with the Audi GTO class, it's Philip Lake still trying to hold off Brian Strodbeck, but it keeps closing down a little bit more every lap now. Problem is, Strodbeck's running out of laps, only about 5. I don't know. This time by, it'll probably be about 5 laps to go.
Did you see how much room Strodbeck gave Keith Ritchie this time, heading through club? He was almost on top of the curb, exiting the corner.
I think he's had enough wild rides today.
Well, that was the car that was coming through that caused him to lose control the first time around.
Yeah.
So
Strodbeck got a pretty good memory here today.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that is a case of a racer's memory is always strongest when he's been wronged.
Well, Philip Lake, a little bit of trouble there with Anti Lepisto. That they didn't touch, but it certainly it seemed to slow Philip Lake down. And as sure as I say that, he kind of stretches it out on Strodbeck there as they came across the start-finish line.
Yeah, Lake has been running a pretty good race here. He's been dealing with a lot of the same stuff that Strodbeck has, and yet is still sitting in that second spot. Now they've got Jamie Hall between them. He's going to be able to get through. Oh, and off! for Philip Lake. He holds on to the position, but that runs the gap down. And apologies to Philip for inciting the commentator's curse there.
That's on you today, Joe.
That was on me, fully. Boy, braking is looking incredibly strong for Strodbeck. Must have that bias turned all the way up. Oh, defensive move from Philip Lake down into Vale. Strodbeck sizing him up, seeing if he can get the run off the corner. Behind them, they do have Michael Houghton closing in. Question is Houghton aware of this battle being for second place with only 5 minutes to go? Houghton doesn't have anybody to worry about, and look at that patience. Nicely done by Michael. Doesn't do a thing to interrupt these guys.
Yeah, and he got there, he got close, and then he cleared him quickly, and that's the key. Don't mess around. Don't sit there and him and haw about where you want to go. Commit to it and go. And he did a great job of that, and that keeps this battle alive between Lake and Strodbeck. I'm starting to feel a little bit more at every lap that this is going to come down to the last lap, Joe. One last chance by Strodbeck, one last dash. We need Philip's got to keep her on track going into gray and be patient here.
Withstand the pressure. I do not foresee Strodbeck deciding to not go for it in the last lap if he gets any whiff of a chance. And they come through the Maggots and Beckett sequence this time through. Lake is nice and tidy. Behind them, Rob Olenek coming up around the outside, or thinking about it at least. Now Olenek can get by at least Strodbeck. Is he going to split them? The braking should allow him to get past Lake down into Stowe, and look at him fly by. Got one more in the form of Malia, as once again we see Strodbeck closing every time when they slow it up for the corner, as he drifts a little wide to take the normal line for the Audi, catches Malia out just a little bit.
Huh, Brian Shanahan having to come in the pit, Joe.
Not enough fuel potentially?
Might have missed it. It's certainly possible.
Oh, meanwhile, Philip Lake was interrupted by the traffic. Strodbeck closed on him, couldn't do anything with it, and then up with him, that's Puhaka, who's made it back into this race and is trying to get past Toyka.
Wow, that really slowed Philip Lake down there. Strodbeck now almost having to check up.
Just all over the back of that Audi of Philip Lake. Strodbeck now down to probably 2 laps to go here. Takes a little bit of a look down into Copse. Not a serious attempt. Doesn't stick his nose in, but a little bit off into the AstroTurf. Philip Lake gives up the momentum. Here comes Strodbeck around the outside. How brave is he going to be? Into the break into the Maggots and Becketts. They're side by side. They almost come together, but Philip Lake comes out ahead. He's on the inside for this corner, but the momentum goes to Strodbeck. Tries to get the run off of Maggots and up through Chapel. He's now going to be right within the slipstream. This is going to be his best opportunity. Philip Lake goes defensive Lake. They come together. Philip Lake gets turned off into the barrier. Strodbeck as well slides off into the side, just tips the Armco.
Wow.
They are so far ahead of Ruola. Neither has lost a position. Strodbeck, and now Ruola comes by Strodbeck, as well as the car of Ben Laughter, and is not able to overtake him, but still. We're now back live. Sorry, that was the replay that we were watching.
Phil came on the radio and said he was sorry to Brian. He missed the shift right there, upshifting. He missed it. That broke his momentum, and wow, what a shame there. Joe, while all that was going on, Ardo Iamaki and John Malia, man, they are going at it. Iamaki back and forth with Malia there. Now Iamaki finally get a little separation here and retain his 6th spot.
Molly, I remember trying to come back after an earlier mistake. Now, are we on the white flag lap here? Richie's about halfway through. I think we might have the white flag next time by. I think he's going to be able to get to the line in that silk cut Jaguar. Oh, and Puhaka with another problem. Damage on that car might not be fully fixed. This one was heading into maggots.
This wasn't damage. This was curb. All curb. He just rides up on it and it sends the car around.
We come back live. Keith Ritchie is now coming through Priory down to Brooklands, and I feel pretty certain that he's going to get the white flag as he crosses the line.
You look at the nose of that Nissan, it's not perfect. I don't think anything about this race has been easy for Keith Ritchie. He's got to hang on for one more lap. Antti Lepisto 1.2 seconds behind.
He's been keeping him honest. We have to give credit to Lepisto on this one. He has had the pace. Now, whether or not Ritchie was holding back a little bit to just try and preserve the car with all the traffic and chaos that we've seen, we'll have to ask afterwards. Either way, he hasn't been able to let off too much because Lepisto is there to take advantage. Not really a battle to see up at the top of our Audis. Hagner has about 40 seconds over Lake after that incident, so we'll stick with this. Got just a glance of Hagner there for a second, but Keith Ritchie now coming up on a little bit of in-class traffic. That's Martin Krajcik, who he's coming up on. Might be able to lap beforehand. Depends on how eager he is to try and put some distance between him and Lepisto. Oh, and we'll go back to Olenek in a little bit after the checkered flag. It looks like he had a problem, and he's taken a tow, so it must have been serious here at the end of the race. Meanwhile, this battle for the lead, mostly just a pressure cooker here on the final lap of the race. They are catching Martin Krajcik, but I don't think this is going to hold up Ritchie enough that it'll give an opportunity for Lepisto. Because as they come out of Woodcote, Keith Ritchie comes across the line and he's going to win here at Silverstone. Meanwhile, Joni Hagner. It hasn't been the most exciting of races for him, although he's certainly had some thrills with traffic coming through.
Yeah.
But the number 3, a 40-second lead, hasn't been strictly through pace. Everybody behind him was fighting intensely for that second place. And once again, as usual, Joni knows when he's on camera. Gives it that finish flick. Takes it around sideways, smoking the tires. Up through Luffield. The 180-degree corner. And not quite a perfect drift through that last corner.
He couldn't keep the momentum going there. Yeah.
Come on, Joni.
Yeah, the guys in the club are going to give him a little bit of trouble about that.
And Hagner crosses the line to take the win here at Silverstone in the GTO class.
Hashtag facepalm.
He's going to get one more drift in for the camera. Lepisto did take second. Hall took third. Philip Lake is still coming around to finish his lap in second. And let's take a look at what happened to Olenek. Him going through Maggots and Beckett's, it looks like. And, he gets hit by an Audi.
What's wrong with that picture? The Nissan gets hit by the Audi?
Well, I mean, he was coming back on track. But Philip Lake finishes his race. Strodbeck comes in behind him. So with that, we're going to take a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel, and we'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Once again, the Kamel GT Series delivers with a stunning and chaotic race out here at Silverstone. In the end, Keith Ritchie, even though we didn't see a lot of passing up for the lead, did have some pressure from behind. He managed to take home the win, but it was less than a second at the line over Antti Lapisto, who finished in second position. Jamie Hall, we really didn't see a whole lot of Jamie on the screen, but hey, credit for a podium. 12 seconds behind our leader, Hall coming in third. Michael Houghton really got our eyes and impressed us severely with some of the moves that he made today, taking a fourth place along with it. Ardo Ihamaki behind him in fifth. John Malia just wasn't meant to be, not as successful as his first race to this series, at least on the broadcast, as he finished in sixth. Timo Toika behind him in seventh. Ossian Puhaka just in the wrong place at the wrong time on that first lap, sent him backwards. It was a race to forget, coming home in eighth with multiple mistakes that cost him time along the way. Jesus Pasilias had some trouble as well, but he finishes in ninth. John Keefe finishes in the top 10. John Hill was behind him in 11th with Clayton McLeod in 12th. Martin Krajcik in 13th. Rob Olenek with a bad finish to his race in 14th. And Jason Wallet in 15th. John?
Oh, the big winner in the Audi GTO class today. Well, it's Joni Hagner with another magnificent run. The Finn takes it by a big margin. Philip Blake, good run for him today. He's going to finish second. Brian Strodbeck, what could have, we said it earlier, what could have been for Brian Strodbeck. Well, I'll tell you what, he's got to be just thrilled at a podium finish after all he went through during this race. Billy Raiola, fourth place today. Ben Lafter, fifth. Cesar Tyrone started back of this field, will finish sixth today. Great drive by the Iberian. Miroslav Jurasek will finish seventh. Alex Bachu, eighth. Ninth, go to Brian Shanahan. 10th, Bronislav Robanek. Ralph Mathesius, 11th today. Gilles Rioux, 12th. Hideki Koivitso, had a great run in the Lotus 49 this morning. The Kamel GT just didn't work out for him today. Come back next week. Hideki, you finished 13th. 14th, Ove Trengerade. His trouble here just shy of the end of this race, and he'll finish 14th. Thomas Marmon did not start this race, Joe.
And as we look for our winners to come and talk to us, it looks like the first one that has showed up is our GTO winner. Sean is going to talk to Joni Hagner and about, I guess, his mostly successful drifts today.
Joni, that was a great race to watch, but it didn't seem like it was a lot of fun for you there when the traffic was coming through. Talk about that a little bit.
Actually, traffic wasn't that bad, but that track's nature is you lost every time, bit time when someone passes you. So not a major problem because it's for everyone the same.
Yeah, everybody has to deal with it. So the race gets off to a good start, and you get off to a big jump. Did that really help you as far as just setting the tone for how this race would go?
Well, on the start, on the first 100 meters, I missed the shift there already. So it was interesting start, but I expected a lot more challenge from Brian, because our practice session racing before this race, so I didn't expect to win this kind of margin.
Well, I was watching you guys battle in the practice, and you two are really evenly matched. It's a really good battle whenever you two are on track together. It was a shame Brian had the trouble he did, but he did manage to finish third. Joni, we head next week, of course, to another track here, and how does that set up for you at Sebring?
I think the setup is quite the same for all tracks, just a bit finer details. But Sebring is a good track for Audi and a good track for multi-class racing, so I expect a lot of good racing there.
Well, and we hope we get a chance to talk to you again next week. Yoni, congratulations. We'll see you then.
Yep.
All right, Joe, that was Joni Hagner, our big winner in the GTO class. And let's see, has Keith Ritchie come over for an interview? I don't think he has he?
Not quite yet, but we do have Michael Houghton from the Prototypes to come and talk to us. And the driver that seemed to impress us so much out on track and traffic. Michael, you took home a 4th place. With all the talk between the races about how to deal with interclass traffic, I almost feel like you need to be the one teaching people with the moves we've seen you make.
Hey guys, first of all, great to be back, and it was a crazy race. I was feeling a little flirty coming back from the Bathurst 1000, where we finished on a podium. So I wanted to just go all out today.
Go all out, you did. And each of the times that you were making up spots out there, it seemed like traffic somehow was helping you out. How do you go about reading those situations? Do you have any special trick or magic secret to help you try and gain those positions?
Well, I watch a lot of racing on TV, and I see what the guys do, especially if they're, say, behind an Audi into turn 1, and I know I'm not going to pass them. Back off a little bit and take them on the inside, and that way you don't lose any time. Read what the car is going to do before he does it, and you'll be fine.
Well, we're going to Florida next time as we're hitting Sebring, and that's a very, very bumpy track. Do you think maybe attrition could help you get one more spot up and get onto the podium next week?
Maybe. I felt I had enough pace to. If I had another maybe 10 laps, I might have caught Jamie. Maybe, but Sebring should be a good race. It's a very tight track, and it's going to require a lot of racecraft from everybody.
Certainly will. Well, congratulations on the 4th, and we look forward to seeing you running again.
Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next week.
It was Michael Houghton, 4th place in the Prototypes. It sounds like 2nd place in the GTOs is pulled up next to Sean here, and he's going to talk to Philip Lake.
Phil, congratulations. That is a great run for you today. I got to ask you real quick. I know John Keith came on the radio and apologized to you, but right there at the end of the race, he makes a pass to the inside. Was that kind of a big moment for you?
Yeah, I was looking in my mirror, and I'm constantly looking at the relative box, and I think I was 1.5 seconds or something, or maybe 1 second behind. I thought, he'll wait until the straight after. So I just turned in, and then I looked in my mirror again, and he was going for the inside. So I just had to let the car run wide, and fortunately we got through. Well,
listen, there was a lot going on track there today. The battle between you and Strodbeck, Strodbeck catching a little bit of bad luck, but manages to recover. Was it a real pressure cooker pretty much for the whole 45 minutes today?
Yeah. I'm on paper, I'm slower than Ove and Brian on clear track. So I was really hoping for lots of traffic, and I seemed to be able to get away from them a little bit in the traffic. The incident with Brian was just really unlucky, and I feel really bad about it. But I just missed a shift just as he was pulling out of my draft, and we made contact, and there wasn't really anything I could have done about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I heard you come on the radio and apologize for it. In fact, I think we brought it up that you'd said you missed the shift there. Your heart just falls into your stomach when something like that happens. But don't worry about Brian. He actually fought back to have a really good finish, Phil. It was a lot of fun watching you guys wheel around this track today. It was a good battle. Like I said, there was lots going on, and I'm glad you made it there to the end. It looked like it was kind of the art of survival at times for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. I do a lot of practice with Jamie Hall, and we go through each corner and see which side is best to leave for the Nissan and where the Audi wants to be on corner exit, because you don't often have a lot of choice where the Audi wants to go on the corner exit. But and we just work through each circuit every week, and I think that really helps me in the traffic and him.
I guess that's one of the amazing differences between these two cars. The Nissan goes where you put it. The Audi kind of does what the Audi does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does.
Well, Phil, congratulations. Hey, great to see you here on the podium today. We'll see you next week in Sebring.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you there.
All right, Joe. That was Phil Lake, and I think you caught up with Brian Strodbeck on his third place finish.
Yeah, despite a podium, what an eventful race, Brian. We saw, I think, more action from you than we have in probably the last seasons full of watching this whole series. Where do we start with this race?
Good question. Yeah, that was pretty wild. The first couple laps, I missed a shift in, I don't even know what turn it is, 13, I think, and that let Phil get around me. And then the deal with Keith, I didn't even know he was there. I was so focused on my own race that I blew that there, and then I got into the tank slapper, got passed by everybody, clawed my way back, and then a late move there from Phil, and I kind of ran into him. So.
And we heard that he apologized, that it wasn't anything intentional, just missed the shift. Knowing that Yoni really ran away with this one and had about a 40-second lead, does this kind of double down your efforts for Sebring if you can make that one? Do you think you can bring it to him next week?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not going to make the race next week, the broadcast race, but I'll try. I'm going to try to get one in there. Yeah, I definitely got to double my efforts. I didn't put a lot of practice in this week. I was trying something different, and it didn't seem to work out. But I had a blast. It was fun clawing my way back up through the field.
We had fun watching you. It gave us lots to talk about and plenty of battles to watch on screen, although I'm sure it's not the way that you wanted this one to go. It seems like we've got a little bit time left, so I'm checking. Oh, it looks like we are running out of time. So I do want to give at least commiserations as well as the congratulations on a third place, and look forward to seeing you at least maybe 2 weeks from now then.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
And that was Brian Strodbeck, third place finisher in the GTOs. With that, we've got to close up today, so we want to thank the Kamel GT community for doing all they can to bring this broadcast to air. They organize a lot behind the scenes to try and raise the money towards this. And of course, thanks to Rob Olenek and Andrew Backey for running the VCR. Thanks to companies who provide the software and hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race is going to be at Sebring. As we mentioned, that'll be Saturday, October 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.